So I'd like to start off with our first presentation of the workshop and introduce Storm Robinson, our fearless leader of this conference. Storm is a research and development forester with the Northern Hardwood Research Institute, and she's going to present to you with an update on the artificial regeneration of maple in New Brunswick. So I'll let you take it over, Storm.
Thank you very much. Hi again. It's good to see a full room. That's why I chose the small one, so it looked really full. So thank you for the introduction, Greg. So I am Storm. So my project just gives you like a quick inside look into what we've been up to at NHRI. This is a big partnership funded by DNR, New Brunswick, a partnership with the National Tree Seed Center, who's going to be up after me. They've helped us out a lot in helping supply seed and giving us a lot of information. And with the Kingsclear Provincial Tree Nursery, we're blessed to have that in Fredericton, as well as the National Tree Seed Center. I forgot to mention in my speech this morning that Fredericton has been named the Forest Capital of Canada for 2023, so it's really appropriate that we're all here, and we have all these wonderful research institutes right in Fredericton. And also our on-the-ground partner is AV Group, New Brunswick, who's one of our sponsors for this event as well. They're producers of specialty pulp products, so they've been interested in not just sugar maple, but also red maple and potentially silver maple as well, to see what we can do to improve artificial regeneration in New Brunswick and regeneration in general. So just the scope of the project, it's part of a much larger project between Northern Hardwood Research Institute and our GNRED in New Brunswick. So the title of the overarching project is Adapting Current Silviculture Practices to Save Our Sugar Maple. So part of that larger project is creating best management practices for changing silviculture, including guidebooks that I'll be producing next, which is Adaptive Silviculture for Climate Change. And Gaetan and the team will be working on revisions to the current SPS, which he will speak to later in this workshop. They're also working on density management, looking at retrospective analysis of PCT operations in New Brunswick, and red maple clumps, which Corinne is up after us as well, and she'll be discussing that project too. And that'll be part of our field tour as well. If you haven't signed up for the field, we do still have some tickets available too, so you should join us. Detecting stress and loss of vigor in maple trees is another project they've been working on, and then mine fits in right here. So the objectives of the Artificial Regeneration of Maple project is obviously to grow artificially maple trees in New Brunswick, but how do we do that? And how do we do it to an operational scale? That's the key. There's a lot of nurseries that can do it, on private land and for restoration purposes, but how do we do this at an operational scale without changing all of our practices and building brand new infrastructure and all of that, because that's where all the cost is going to come in artificial regeneration. So that's the overarching objective. And so to get there, the first thing we want to do is highlight those challenges in artificial regeneration. So we want to promote natural regeneration and promote best management practices in silviculture first and foremost, but there's certain situations where that just doesn't work, and there's a lot more interest in artificial regeneration. So the next thing is something I think we've been doing really well, is knowledge transfer and collaboration with all of the resources that we have available in New Brunswick. I'm really proud of us for that. We've been working together really well. I see a lot of faces in this room. Hands-on applied research, getting our hands dirty, getting out there, seeing it for ourselves, not just trusting the literature that's come before us, but actually doing it ourselves in this region for the first time to an operational scale. And product development, that's kind of going to be my key going forward, is turning that into something that practitioners can use and reference going into the future. And developing demonstration sites, that's probably the hardest out of all of our objectives, especially if we were to turn it into a scientific experiment, because there's so many variables, so many different things about the different seed types and the seasonality and phenology of these species. They're all so different, even within the same genus, so that makes it really difficult to get them on the same schedule, and then to do site preparation and follow it all the way through. So this is something we're still working out pretty consistently. And then again, using the agile approach, making continuous improvement to our products and updating them as we learn. So a lot of challenges growing hardwoods artificially in general. and sugar maple specifically. A lot of people have tried and failed to grow sugar maple plantations, and it's just something you see over and over again where they only really seem to grow where there was sugar maple before. And in those cases, there's already usually a lot of natural regeneration. So sugar maples had a lot of problems establishing. Predator browsing, herbaceous competition, forest cover removal, and how sugar maple grows checked, so it grows outwards instead of growing straight, which is not good for our products. Issues with frost pockets are super appropriate when dealing with sugar maple. And not to mention our national seeds shortage, which I'm sure Donnie's going to allude to at some point today. And we experienced it firsthand, for sure, when we were dealing this project. So why are we doing this? Natural regeneration, like I said, following recommended silviculture practices, that's the way you want to go. But artificial regeneration is important, where past practices have eliminated healthy hardwood stands and you no longer have that soil substrate that you need to grow them. Where climate change and a shift to a higher composition of red maple, they're just changing the composition of the forest. So we're seeing a lot of changes. And of course, sugar maple is in decline in general, and the natural regeneration is dwindling due to things like beech bark disease and the beech regeneration, which I'm sure you're going to hear lots about all of this during this conference, which is why I'm not going into detail. And then human-assisted migration trials. How do we grow, test, and research human-assisted migration without being able to grow hardwoods without them being browsed or destroyed or being successful at all? So that's another reason for adaptive silviculture research. And people are messaging me all the time now. Everybody's interested, so we got to do this. So just trying to highlight some of our collaborative work and show you that we have been on the ground trying to learn this stuff. So the top photo is planting with AV Group in northern New Brunswick just last month. We were planting silver maple seedlings and learned a lot of interesting things. They really grew in multi-pot 45s, just like softwoods, and they grew with the same regime as softwoods, and they grew really tall and straight, and we're really looking forward to seeing how they do. And just showing the National Tree Seed Center supplied us with 5,000 red and sugar maple seed to work on this project, so shout out to you guys, thank you for that. And Kingsclear Tree Nursery, they've been helping with seed collections, which is really important. So like I mentioned, we have been able to grow hardwoods operationally using the similar soil mediums as softwoods, and same lighting and container sizes, and just seeing how that goes, and it's gone better than I would have expected. So here's some photos of our sugar maple, our silver maple, and our red maple seedlings. So sugar maple, they seem to grow really well. They didn't have many issues. There was just very slight indication of pest or disease that kind of went away with time. The silver maple, they did great. They've overwintered in the multi-pot 45s. As I mentioned, they grew very straight. And the red maples, they had some pH issues, but they changed up the fertilizer a little bit, and that went away, and they're doing really well as well. Again, just some more information on what we've been doing. So one of our biggest struggles with our critical paths is the sugar maple seed. We have not been able to source anymore. Getting them exported from the States is a really hard thing, and collecting them ourselves is even harder. Not only the organization of it, but finding the seeds. So it's looking like this year might be a better year, so we have our fingers crossed for that. The stratification went really well. We didn't have any issues there. Pretty much the numbers that the National Tree Seed Center estimated for us were bang on, so we were happy with that. For the silver, we learned all we need to know. They grow really well, grow really easy, they overwinter well, so we're kind of moving on from that and trying to learn more about red and sugar. We did some filming for seed cut testing videos and things when we were doing red maple seed collections, so that's something moving forward. And this is still new to site preparation and planting, because again, it's a lot harder to organize to get all the species on the same schedule, but we're starting to look at the assessment on how they did when we planted them last year. We learned that we have to tag the seedlings better because we can't find them when there's natural regeneration out there at all, so that's our biggest lesson from that one. And we did learn that planting seems to be more successful than direct seeding, which makes sense if you look at it seed by seed, so lots more work to do there. So for our products, these are the guidebook, the first guidebook we just produced. It just came out a month or two ago. We're doing a 2-volume series, so that's the first volume, seed practices, nursery practices, and seed collection guidelines. So again, that was a lot of help from the National Tree Seed Center on that, putting that together. And then the second volume is going to be plantation establishment and tending. So I've got that in really good shape, but I'm looking for a lot more hands-on stuff. So if anybody has any information or research and wants to reach out and you've done some hands-on establishment, site preparation, tending, things like that, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to learn. We've released quite a few articles. So we had 2 different summer editions of our leaflet last year and this year that had a lot of the artificial regeneration of maple information and updates. And then the Atlantic Forestry Review published one of my articles in March of 2023 as well. And we're working on training videos. So as I've been going, I've been capturing live footage of what we've been up to. So that's going to be something to look forward to from NHRI. And demonstration sites with AV Group, as mentioned. We have, well, this isn't updated. I think it was 0.75 hectares planted on a freehold site and 0.25 direct seeded. And then on Crown land, it was much bigger, but I don't remember the exact number of hectares. But so yeah, on the ground stuff going on. So that first volume, we have our challenges of growing hardwoods, seed collection and storage, nursery practices, and a summary of best management practices, which I think is what a lot of guidebooks are missing, is those detailed instructions on what to do, what do we do now. So that, and making it local to our region, that was important to us. Volume 2, that's going to be coming out, review of hardwood plantation studies, site selection, site prep, and plantation establishment, tending, a huge chapter on predation and what to do with that, because we have so many different critters here in New Brunswick, and again, best management practices. So what's next? As I mentioned, adaptive silviculture for sugar maple is the other half of this project that I'll be working on, and it's in progress. I'm working on volume 1 with Cedric Albert. Kingsclear Nursery is going to do some nursery container trials whenever we find some seed. So that'll be good. And we'll continue seed collections and just building our seed capacity for future work. And follow up on demonstration sites and plan scientific experiments. I'm hoping to go to PEI to visit Griffin. And updating mobilization plans, what's new products or new training videos that'll be coming out. So just trying to get that information out there that we're learning. That is all I have.
We have a minute for a question or two if anybody's got questions. I have one.
Okay.
Are you looking at all at bare root, or is it all containerized?
I personally have done literature review on bare root. I just find that it's more of a private nursery thing that would do bare root, like to an operational scale. It makes sense, they would fit in planting bags, it's something they could do, but the actual planting of the bare root, I've done it myself and it's quite a bit more technical and harder. So for the planters that are used to planting softwood, they just want to do 1-2 plant, 1-2 plant, that's what we're looking for. So we can't really do that with bare root. It would be a better solution in the long run, but for getting that like quick operational plant on the ground, I think that's why we're going with the multi-pots right now. But it's definitely something to research.